What's up, everybody? It's Tyler with Hooksets Are Free. It is about 9:05 p.m. here on Friday night, 11:11. In 4 minutes from now, it's going to be 11:11 p.m. on 11:11 here in 2022. So make a wish if you're on the East Coast in about 3 minutes, yo. Good to see you guys in here. I hope you're doing well. I see Paul, Brendan, Bruce. Yo, yo, yo. How's it going, guys? Let's get this party started. Indeed, Paul. Let's go ahead and crack a brewski. You know, save water, drink beer. Am I right? So I'm just drinking a little Modelo, classic Mexican beer. Hope you guys are having a good one. We've got a little package to unbox from Discount Tackle. And so we'll get into that in a minute once we give people just a couple minutes to hop in here. I see we've got 4 or 5 people in here right now. The studio view looks a little bit different to me than it ordinarily does, but so be it. As you can see, I've got a pile of baits here. These are all just from my office. We can talk about this pile of baits here. It's time to start reorganizing for me as the season starts to wind down, and I need to kind of take inventory of what I've got and finish my wish list, if you will, for Black Friday. So, it's that time of year where places like the Hookup Tackle are running Veterans Day sales right now. So you can save 15% off from like the hookup right now, or you can wait 2 weeks and you can save I think it'll be 20% at most places for Black Friday. So it's that time of year to think about making a big purchase or just stocking up in general for next season. But we will definitely cover the topic of Black Friday in an upcoming stream. And while everybody plans to purchase, including myself, probably a little bit more on the rods end of the spectrum for me this year, but of course, some baits as well. Brendan says, could not find any flashback chatters at Wally World, so I'll just order one online. All right, dude. Yeah, they're easy to find. Like here's one for example. This is actually the small size that I was telling you I do not recommend. Um, so super basic bait here. It comes naked, has no bait keeper of any sort on it, and that's probably why some people are a fan of the trailer that it comes stock with, but it has zero action and the durability on it is suspect at best. I just don't like it very well. So, anyway, again, if you're going to get that flashback mini, uh, go with the 3/16 ounce size and throw something along the lines of like a 2.5 inch Z-Man Slim Swims or a uh, Strike King Baby Z2. Always a great option on something like that, especially a naked chatterbait. It's got a good thump for what it is, but we don't need to go down that rabbit hole again since we did talk about it on your stream with Jermaine the other night. So Riley Belden in the house. Been doing well. Thank you very much. Happy Veterans Day to you and to all the veterans out there. Not going to talk about it too much, but I do just want to give a brief thanks and express my gratitude for just being able to live here in the U.S. It's something that we take for granted all the time, and so I love the fact that we've got a day like today to just take a moment to step back and acknowledge the men and women who have served and are serving um, in our armed forces and in our military uh, with the U.S. It is interesting and fun for me to have to explain to my kids who are now asking at ages 7 and 4 specifically what does it mean and what is the military and uh, it's interesting. So happy Veterans Day to everybody out there. Tom Mix in the house. What's up to you, dude? The cool nights are moving in here, and so are the daytime lower temps. That is a fact. That happened a little bit too quickly here, but is always the case here in Colorado. We're not near frozen yet, but it is definitely chilly. And so it's rare for us to have a warm day now. We'll have 1 or 2 warm days per week, but I would say we're down to the last, oh, 3 weeks or so of open water at most. So for me, I'm fishing for trout and I'm fishing for bass on super slow moving presentations for the most part. Colby Livingston, happy Veterans Day. Happy Friday as well. What's up, dude? How you doing? Let's go ahead and get in the package. We got 8 people in here. 6 thumbs up. I appreciate you guys. If you haven't already hit the thumbs up, do me that favor and let's crack open this package. I will also leave a link. Colby says, I fished in 19-degree air temp today. Guides were freezing and fingers were done. Dang, dude, that's brutal. Yeah, I haven't had freezing guides issues yet, but I've definitely had freezing hands, freezing extremities in general. Haven't been able to last very long in an average session. And so my catch rate has gone down significantly. I have not caught much at all in the last month or so. Riley, you do not need to apologize for being absent, you know, of all the things that you have going on. If you were to list them in terms of priorities, this ought to be down toward the bottom. But I appreciate the sentiment. You know, we do have a nice sense of community here, and we've always appreciated you here. So, would love to have you anytime you join. Okay, so I'm going to leave a link to Discount Tackle so that you can check out these products for yourself. You know, if we had Daniel T in here doing his moderating, he'd be able to do that for me. Brendan, are you a moderator? And do you have that link? That's a lot of me to ask of you, but I'm going to go ahead and grab this link real quick. All right. It'll take me just a hot second. Wow. They revamped the homepage. That's cool. Brendan's not a moderator. All right, guys. So in the chat right now, if you're watching live or if you're watching on the replay, you can click on the live chat and see. I've just posted the link to discounttackle.com. It is my affiliate link. Not going to save you any extra money, but you'll be able to go and see all of these products for yourself and pick any or all of them up. We'll start with soft plastics in this order. So, got one of the rad modern stickers that they just came out with last month. Z-Man Discount Tackle collaboration. And then we've got the invoice and the thank you card. Just so you know, this order was $84 worth. Okay. So pretty typical for me, but just so you have a general feel for, you know, what we got for what we spent, right? So let's start with this 13 fishing bait that was just taking up so much space in this package. This is the Joystick rabbit eared tail. Okay, so the rabbit ear tail is 13 Fishing's like patented tail, if you will, with that flange. I think this clamshell is a waste of space, but who cares? These baits were cheap. I think I spent like $3.74 on the pack. And to me, when I saw this bait, this right here is a 6-inch swimming worm. Okay. So initially, I thought that this bait looked like a really cool trailer. And then I saw some swimming videos of this thing and the fact that it's made in a 6-inch. And I thought, oh, this right here is an awesome kind of finesse swimming worm. This is a June bug color, and that is exactly why I got this color. So decided to pick up a pack of these, you know, at a little less than $1 per bait. Thought it would be interesting. These are a little bit thicker in body than some of the other swimming worms out there, like the Zoom Ultra Vibe Speed Worm. It's kind of an in-between thickness between the original and the Magnum, which I do like. So that's item number one. Not super exciting, but let's move on to a couple of net bait products. These ones I am pretty excited about. So Hellabass, what's up, Rich? How you doing tonight? I don't know if you saw me in your stream the other night, but I was on there. Good to see you as always. All right, Brendan says, by the way, I did get a fish on the 13 BAMF shad on the 8-inch, so I'm happy you turned me on to them. Cool bait. Nice, man. Glad to hear it that you caught a fish on this fatty. Okay, so we got two baits here, guys. And these are the new, set the hook net bait collaboration. So really, these are net bait soft plastics, but they're branding everything on here. So you can see American Bait Works, you can see Bait Fuel, net bait, set the hook. And it's interesting because that's really where American Bait Works is at right now. Like they're just fusing everything together. So, I don't really know what's going on here, but this is a super cute little 2.5-inch tube. And what's to note about the tubes made by Set the Hook, okay, is that these have a different ratio that is roughly 40% body, 60% tail. So you get a whole lot more action out of the tail material that you do out of an ordinary tube. And then this is a pretty thick walled tube itself. So tiny little guy, probably drop shot this thing. I mean, I don't even know what size tube jig you could fit inside a 2.5-inch tube. But, this is brown pumpkin copper flake. Pretty sweet little color that I know will kill it. I could probably fit 2 or 3 packs worth of these baits in each bag. So just kind of as an FYI. And then I also decided to get a pack of the larger 4-inch size. So a little bit more traditional sized tube that I'll definitely be able to throw on a more ordinary tube jig. And so now here's where you can really see the difference, that ratio of body to tail. So really cool deal here. Not the saltiest tubes in the world, but they do seem like they've got a thick wall and will be relatively durable. These are infused with bait fuel in them as they're poured. So just gives you a little bit of extra confidence straight out of the gate. And they do have, they've got net baits sent on them as well. So you get a little 2-for-1 combo there. So I got one pack of each size of the tubes because they didn't have all of the colors that I wanted. And so I just wanted to get my hands on these and see kind of what my first impressions are of the 2.5 versus the 4, because these tubes will be working their way into my relatively small arsenal of tube baits. That's maybe a half a dozen or so different soft plastic baits. So Hellabass says winter has set in Minnesota. It's over. Damn, dude. Well, maybe you ought to give ice fishing a go this year. No, the tentacles are not twisted. Matt in the house. What's up, Matt? How you doing tonight? Colby says, I kind of like that tube. Yeah, I hear you. It's hard to like really be in love with many tube baits. The Kitech salty core tube really gets my juices flowing. But other than that, for the most part, a tube is a tube. It's really hard to get jazzed about it. But it's an interesting idea having a little bit longer tentacle, less body, more hook, better action, better hookup ratio in theory, I would think. I don't know. Bonus points for no clamshells, says Rich. Yeah, on tubes, I think they're very unnecessary. John Smith in the house. What's up, John? How you doing? Rich, no. I am not trying to get you to leave the stream. In fact, I've never been ice fishing myself, but this might be the year that I try to put myself out there a little bit. You never know. But while on the topic of ice fishing, let's go the opposite direction and talk about a bait that I know just about everybody has talked about, except for me. I've avoided talking about this bait for no particular reason, but I was just able to acquire a couple of these, one in each of what I think are the best looking colors. So we've got bone and we've got matte black in the Z-Man Hellraiser. So, it's one of those things that you can't really know what it is until you see it for yourself and until you hold it in your hands. And I will say that compared to the photos, um, this bait is actually smaller than I thought it was going to be. I just had some sort of impression that this was a really big bait, and it's not as big as I thought it would be. So I love that this matte black color has everything matte black. Um, the entire blade and the feathered tail um, on that treble and the entire paint job, including the eyes. It's all matte black. I am not mad about that. Now, my first impressions when I saw this bait were, well, that's definitely weird, and I don't quite understand. I know there's definitely a gimmick going on there, but is that really going to work? Is it a good idea? I don't know, because this blade is exactly the same as what you get on the Strike King Rage blade, the original chatterbait made by Strike King. It's the same blade, right? And so I was like, this is a top water chatterbait type of thing. I immediately thought the hookup ratio is going to be a little bit poor because of the blade blocking that hook, right? You get a fish striking from the side, you're going to miss a lot of fish there. But you do get a big treble directly underneath. This bait tracks like this with the nose up. So maybe the hookup ratio is a little bit better than I thought it would be, or think that it will be. I don't know. But either way, these baits were on sale at Discount Tackle, and I thought I would grab a couple before I forget about them, because honestly, I'd forgotten about them immediately after hearing about them at iCast. I just wasn't interested. And then through the grapevine, I guess I've been pleasantly surprised. I won't say impressed, but pleasantly surprised at how everybody's talking pretty well about it, and like it is almost a must have for the near future. That in the day and age that we're in, where fish are becoming conditioned to certain baits, that something like this might just have a place for a couple of years, uh, and trigger some fish that wouldn't eat other things, or would want a little bit more erratic or wild of an action, if you will. So, two Hellraisers. I think they were on sale for like $11 a pop. I'm not mad about it. This is perhaps the highlight of the order and what I'm most excited about. And I'll probably even tie it on this week to just see how it runs and what I feel about it. But Matt has talked about this bait. This is the flat-sided Macbeth. So, Shimano Macbeth, flat side. This is a 57 millimeter, 3/8 ounce bait. And I actually just coincidentally got this in the exact same two colors that I got the little square bill You know, this was actually the wake bait version of the Macbeth. This MB50 M50F. Now we've got the MB57. Well, sorry, MB57 flat. So here you can see the internals of the bait. There is, it's not a weight transfer system. This is the jet boost technology of theirs, and it's on a spring. So if you can see coming up through the bait, there's a spring system. Unfortunately, you can't see that super well. It's there on the bottom. And so it'll allow the bait to cast well, but I still have a little bit of doubt about that and how it's not going to have a rebound effect. But I probably trust Shimano more than I trust myself. And these baits seem to be really well made. Circuit board lips, the eyes painted on there to look very handmade. Um, Super attractive baits here that are going to get some use from me. And so I got to find a spot in my flat side box. We can talk about flat sided crankbaits either tonight or on a um, a stream coming up, and we can break down maybe 10 or so flat sided crankbaits. But this is the bluegill color. That was the Pro Blue color, I believe. Yep. Bluegill, Pro Blue. Again, these are 2¼ inches, 57 millimeters, 3/8 of an ounce. Okay. Now 9 grams, whatever. That's typical weight. I think the bait's going to cast pretty well given that jet boost technology, but we'll just have to see about that. I like that it's a small body crankbait, and I've got a soft spot for that. So picked up 2 of these guys, and they were not on sale, but I want to say that they retail for like $12 a pop, something like that. Yeah, $11.99 for the Macbeths, and the Hellraisers were on sale for $11.24. Okay. Now we've got some soft plastics to kind of plow through here, and most of them are new Z-Man baits. But first, before we get into the new Z-Man micro soft plastics, which I am excited to take a look at, I want to give a shout out to Ethan over at Mule Fishing, because I feel for him in that his business is going to take a little bit of a hit since Z-Man and a few other companies are now delving into the space where he kind of had his own market for a while and now has a lot of competition with some big name brands. So this is either the 3rd or 4th bait that Ethan has now come out with in his line of mule fishing. And this is the Mule Minnow. He's making this in 3 different sizes, this being the middle size. So this is 2.2 inches. He also makes it in a 1.2, which is tiny, and maybe a 3.2, or definitely a size that's bigger than this one. But this is interesting to see in person because check this out. It is thinner than it is wide, for sure. It almost has a little bit of like a leech-esque vibe to it. It's got 2 little segments in the middle of the body. Give it just a little bit more action, perhaps. Sorry, the light is just harsh, and this bright chartreuse color that this bait is doesn't play well with the light. So pretty cool deal here. You got this nub on the head that you could either rig straight up flush to, or you can cut off before rigging. Ethan recommends kind of both styles of rigging on this. You know, if you're going to drop shot the bait, maybe you want to get rid of the head first. And if you're going to rig on a jig head, maybe you want it to go flush right up there. So, for example, I've got two jig heads here that would go well with this. One is more what everybody else would throw, and this is a standard Ned head in a lighter weight. This is the 1/10 ounce, maybe even the 1/15 ounce by Z-Man in the finesse shrooms. So this guy has the standard size 1 hook on it, and then this is the opposite end of the spectrum. This is the mule fishing mule jig, which is in the smallest size that they make. So 1/80th ounce and a much smaller hook. So I don't know that either one of these is necessarily a great fit, but I can tell you that I prefer the fit of the Z-Man. Oh, do I though? Whatever. Let's give it a go. I'll show you what this looks like rigged up. And this actually, Brendan, might be kind of a perfect bait to be throwing on that chatterbait we were talking about. Okay. A challenge with these baits, because they're stretchy, is that they're hard to rig straight. Okay. So you can see this hook is too big. It'll be fine, but it's a little bit too big for this bait. And I didn't rig it quite deep enough into the bait, but let's go ahead and pull this off and show you on that chatterbait, because I think it would be an awesome pairing. So again, shout out Mule Fishing and this new Mule Minnow 2.2. Ethan did not send me these baits. I bought these from Discount Tackle. One, because I want to support Ethan, and two, because I actually really do believe in these baits. I rigged this perhaps the wrong way, sideways, and I could have rigged it so that the hook was, or so that the bait was standing more vertically. You can see that this hook looks huge on this bait as well. So maybe not enough body on this. Regardless, though, this could be a good bait for ice fishing, or really any type of pan fishing. 2.2 inches, in my opinion, is not too small. Some of the other baits are, and we're going to see how we feel about some baits that are a little smaller than that in just 1 second, because I've got the entire lineup of Z-Man micro finesse baits to take a peek at. I've got one of each pack, and they're little guys. Okay, they're made for pan fishing, and unfortunately, they're going to sell a lot of stuff, and they're going to affect Ethan's business to a certain extent. Now, Ethan has great loyal customers, so if you're into stretchy baits, if you're into floating baits, if you're into pan fishing, check out Mule Fishing, either on Discount Tackle or on his website, or check out Ethan on Instagram, either his page at Online Outdoorsman, or Mule Fishing has their own page as well. So sadly, right now, if you look at it, I bought 5 packs of Z-Man baits, which were on sale, but I spent nearly 20 bucks on those, whereas I think I spent 5 bucks here. And just like that, that's how it happens. You get suckered in, and I don't know if I can feel great about it. Another awesome thing about these is they come 10 to a pack. These are also made from an Elastec type of material. So let me catch up on comments for a second, and Well, I'll show you these baits, okay? Because I haven't been reading your comments at all, and I'm sure I missed a ton. So sorry, guys. John says that mule minnow would look great on a tiny finesse jig. I agree with that for sure. Um, Depends just how finesse the jig is, you know. Tennessee Bassmaster in the house. What's up, dude? All right. Adam my hair in the house. Yo, yo. Yeah, Matt, it's crazy that ice fishing live scope is a thing now. I saw it the other day, but it's like, 3,500 bucks or something, but would be pretty wild. You say I bet the small 3-inch spark shad would work well with the tiny chatterbait. No, actually, the spark shad is a little bit too wide in profile for that bait. Um, it's got to be a narrow profile bait to go along with small little jig head like this. All right. Okay. Here we go. These are the tiny Z-Man baits. We'll start with what is the most predictable and also perhaps the most questionable. And this is the tiny micro TRD, right? So now they've got like four baits in this line. So the micro TRD, the finesse TRD, the big TRD, and the giant TRD. First thought that I had, and that most people probably have, is, well, why would you buy those when you could just, cut down another bait and make it into the same thing, right? And I had the same thought. But as I've had happen before, I'll show you right now that this bait is much skinnier than the standard finesse TRD is. Um, it's downsized in every regard. So this is a much smaller bait, and golly, I mean, I don't even quite know what to think of it. Okay, I've got a couple other jig heads here that I think will do us better with these baits. This is the new Micro Finesse Shrooms jig head, and here I've got it in 1/30th ounce. This is the lightest weight, and this guy's got a small hook on it, size 6. And then this guy was released a year or two ago, and this is the OG Mushrooms jig, which this is in a size 1/32, and it's got a size 4 hook on it. So pretty close. Pretty close. Let's start with the blue guy. Do a little black and blue rigging on the Micro TRD. So the OG mushroom jig has this different collar on it, and it actually has a mushroom shaped head more so than or it's more rounded than that squared off head. I suppose I should measure this just a hair. See if I can rig it straight the first time. Probably won't, because when does that ever happen? Oh my goodness. Is that the cutest thing you've ever seen? All right. So here she is. That right there is a tiny Ned rig. Okay. baby size Ned rig. Would you have imagined, just when we thought that the Ned rig was such a simple, boring, easy way to catch fish, as a do nothing technique, it would catch all fish. Now we've even gone smaller with the exact same concept. So this is a blue head on a black bait. That'll catch fish straight up. I have immediate confidence in it, and I don't even love it. I don't know what to tell you. I'll have to report back after it becomes something that I throw more frequently moving forward, because I haven't necessarily had like a staple of pan fishing soft plastic baits, just like an arsenal of baits. And hate to say it, but Z-Man might be onto something here by having released 5 different profiles all at once. Um, yeah, kind of weird. All right, you guys are going nuts talking about 3-inch paddle tails, and I wouldn't recommend any of those on that specific tiny chatterbait. All right, um, they're all going to have too much tail action, so that's why I recommend a Z-Man. You guys, you gotta listen, you know. The Slim Swims. All right. The Slim Swims, it has a very subtle paddle tail to it, and the Baby Z2 by Strike King has no paddle tail to it. It's a fluke. Uh, Fluke style baits are awesome on chatterbaits. I think you want to let the blade do the work for you with that bait. So anyway, this right here is the tiny ticklers. So this is the downsized version of the TRD ticklers. And check out this little delectable cutie. And just like I mentioned on the last one, this is actually a downsized version in every way. All of the tentacles, the taper, the thickness of the plastic, everywhere. This is a totally different bait. Just same exact um, profile, just all different dimensions than what you get out of the TRD ticklers. So let's go ahead and rig up one of these micro finesse shrooms jig heads on these, because this tiny ticklers feels smaller immediately than the micro TRD does. The micro TRD is a full 1.75 inches. I think all of these baits are listed as that same length. You know, this is 1.75 inches, but if you take a look at the bait, you know, you've got maybe 30% of the bait is tail on the ticklers. So side by side, this one's going to feel a lot smaller. Okay. It's just so dang small, dude. Keep in mind, this is my first time rigging any of these baits up. I have zero experience. Um, and so it's going to take a little practice to know just how shallow to go in these baits, how um, far down the bait you want to rig it. But here she is, tiny ticklers rigged up. Not a great rigging. You know, I can't help but be a little bit critical of myself for that kind of stuff. I just don't like the way that it looks. And that's better. Okay. That's the tiny ticklers. And next up, they're starting to get weird after this, all right? It's going to start getting weird. we've got a paddle tail shad style bait, and this is called the shad fries. Okay, shad fries. Not that you'll ever be able to read that if it's out of focus. This is the purple death color. All these baits say that they're 1.75 inches in length, but like I said, the profile is going to make all these baits feel a little bit different in the hand and in the water. So this is a tiny little paddle tail swim bait. Purple death is one of my favorite colors that Z-Man makes. It's like purple and chartreuse, whole lot of flake in it. And as you can see, this bait is a paddle tail. Very hard for me to be able to show you. And the tail definitely looks kinked up, but you'll see that this bait is segmented to have a little bit more swimming or kicking action to it. But this is a bait that can be drop shotted or swam. I don't know. Looks interesting. Not one that I'm like in love with right away, but bet you right here this could play. I would not have thought about this on such a small bait, but take a look. Take a look at this bad boy right here. I think that could work. And I rigged it even a little too far. So you would have a little bit more tail, but this takes up the entire body and yet no tail. Um, but like I said, really with this bait, all you want is profile, but not something that's going to really give you more action than the bait itself. So that right there could work. Looks just fine to me. So let's move on from the shad fries, which, if we're being honest, was probably one that I was least excited about. I don't love a lot of their paddle tail swim baits, especially the segmented ones like this. So that said, I did want to see all of these up close for myself. Now here's another shad style bait, but it's a straight tail. This they call the stingers. Okay. Wow. This could be great on it as well. Yo, I've got the silver one here. Boom. Should we just do this? Dang, yo. This could work as well. So before I rig it, let me just show you the stingers. Uh, also has a deep belly. Had it focused for a second there. And then it's got this straighter tail. So hard to get focus. And the tail actually has, it's a quarter section type of deal. I wonder if I'd be able to get this to focus for you. Can you see that as I twist it? It's quartered off. And yeah, you'd almost have to look at pictures to see it. That is a lot cooler than I thought it would be in person. I see this bait being a winner and the shad fries not. But I reserve the right to be proven wrong. by myself or anybody else about that. But this looks like a cool bait. Let's see if I can rig this straight, yo. All right, there she is. Ooh, ooh. Take a look at that beauty right there, guys. The hook looks a little big for it in this moment, but if I rig this just a little bit deeper in the bait, um, I think that could do really well. You tell me. Any takers on that? Last bait, because I don't want to talk about these micro baits forever. We can get into talking about anything after this, but this is the end of the unboxing. This is their wildest bait, and it's the larvas. So I decided to get this in just a crazy red color. I thought either red, brown, or black, if we're going full bug with it, might as well. So speaking of might as well, I'm going to take one of these red jig heads that'll match up perfectly on this bait and show you what she looks like rigged up. This is a nuts looking bait. This is going to be a real challenge to rig. Let's see if we got that. We got close. We got close. All right. Wow, that is tricky. So I'll show you the backside view. This is what it would look like from underneath. You see, there's a whole lot of detail that's just not going to show up for you on this stream because of the fact that it's so small. And this camera wants to focus on my beautiful face and not all these intricate details on these tiny baits. But that one looks interesting. It looks more like an ice fishing bait to me. I don't know. You get a lot of action out of that tail. So here we are, guys. This is the full lineup of baits rigged up by yours truly. First, we got the micro TRD. Here I put it on the OG mushroom jig from Z-Man. Then we got the tiny ticklers on the new micro finesse shrooms jig head. We got that same jig head rigged on that larvas that I just showed you. Crazy bait. And then we got these two swim baits that I've got rigged up on the flashback mini chatterbait from Z-Man. So this is a size 1 hook in this tiny chatterbait. And you can see that it only works on these baits because they've got so much body. So that's the shad fries, and then this is the stingers. So tell me, what are your guys' opinions of these new Z-Man micro finesse baits. Will you be trying them? Do you see a place in your fishing for them? Do you like to fish for panfish? Do you like Elastec baits in general? Because all of that is true for me and factors into why I at least decided to give these a shot and see what they were about. I've probably given Z-Man way more money than I should have at this point, but it's how things go. So that does it for this unboxing for today. We've got a bunch of soft plastics, handful of hard baits, just a little bit random all over the board based on what was newly in stock at Discount Tackle. And you guys have probably learned by now that that is a big thing for me. So seeing when some of these baits come in stock with the colors that I like will motivate me to actually make the purchase. Whereas if they come in but they're only available in one or two colors and I don't like them, I'm probably not going to get it. So same was the case for the Hellraiser. And yeah, I'm going to need to pee real quick, but I will catch up on your comments in 1 second after I pee and take a sip of beer. All right. Maybe I'm just going to rock it in the cup here. Dang. Gonna have some leftover drops. It's part of the deal, right? All right. There are a million things we could talk about right now. I'm kind of curious to know where you guys want to take the conversation before I just take us down a random rabbit hole. But let me catch up on these comments. You guys ask any questions if you have them, and we'll keep it rolling. I've been on for 53 minutes already. It doesn't feel like it, but Colby says most of those baits would catch too many trout if I threw them bass fishing. Well, that's part of the point that I got them. I live here in Colorado and do a fair amount of trout fishing. I prefer to fly fish when I'm chasing trout, but I have gotten much more into ultralight uh, fishing for trout with tiny lures, starting with jerk baits, and then have really branched out from there to small topwater baits and a wide array of soft plastics and different crankbaits and stuff. So, even like this guy, which I didn't think would be a trout bait for me, is going to end up being so. The little baby tiny wattle bats, but yeah, sometimes you got to chase the trout, you know? For me, it's wintertime coming up, which means all of our still water is going to be frozen. Um, but moving water is still game on. So trout fishing kind of becomes the only style of fishing that we can really do uh, around here for aggressive fish, unless you're ice fishing. And I don't do a lot of that, but maybe I'll start getting into it. We'll see. Dave says, I hear Jeff at the hookup is all about the bug baits too. That's funny. Um, Ryan says I would use them for crappie. Yeah, me too, man. And that's mostly what I have on my mind when I see these baits. I'm not thinking that I'm going to target bass with these. I'm thinking trout. I'm thinking crappie. I'm thinking bluegill, and I'm thinking perch. More than anything, that's just where my mind goes is chasing panfish and trout. Uh, so why not? I'll invest a little bit more into my arsenal of baits to chase those species of fish. Oh dang! Did a lot of comments just skip? I'm sorry. Colby says, "Yeah, I live in Utah, and it's basically the only fish we were raised catching." Yeah, no, I'm the exact same way, dude. Um, unless they're bigs, they're a nuisance. I'm kind of the same way, dude. Uh, if it's a trout that's like under 16 or 18 inches, um, it's just not exciting. I don't know that a nuisance is the right word necessarily because I do like catching fish in general, but I do see where you're coming from, and I agree to a large extent. Adam says, Tyler, did you look at the Chatterbait Micro? Uh, Chatterbait Micro is different than the Flashback Mini, right? This is the Flashback Mini. The Micro, I do have. I fished it the other day. Um, I like it just fine. It's skirted, right? It's a micro chatterbait, uh, different bait, but good nonetheless. Thoughts on live scope? Thoughts on live scope? Jeez, are you guys asking me about live scope or what? I mean, I think it's part of the deal. I don't think you can really limit it, which is unfortunate. So, um, you got to learn it. You got to figure out how to afford it if you want to be competitive in professional fishing. But aside from that, I'm all for if people want to start leagues where live scope is not allowed. Fine, but I don't think that's going to be the norm in mainstream bass fishing or competitive fishing in general. So I think it's just something that we're going to have to embrace, and that fishing is changing. So it all comes down to your personal preference and how you like to catch fish, and whether or not that would change the experience for you in using live scope. So I don't quite know where I stand on it because I haven't used it myself, but I would imagine that um, there's an initial feeling of discovery and wonder and just excitement because you figured something out and because fishing is easier. But will that feeling remain? And will you maybe even miss the olden days and olden ways of having to find and catch fish um, without just watching, right? On a video game? It's a different ball game. So, um, I think it will be more targeted toward professional fishermen or people just who are the higher end angler who are limited on time and want the latest and greatest technology and are willing to spend the money on that. But uh, to the average angler, I don't know that live scope, at least while the cost of technology is so high, I don't know that it's going to become a mainstream or the norm for your everyday angler. Uh, but in a matter of 5 to 10 years, that technology could be so cheap that that everybody's got access to it, and that's just how we all operate. So I don't know, man. Ooh, you guys are funny. Adam says, "Do people fly fish with these tiny soft plastics now?" Um, I have considered it, but no. The closest that I've come to doing that is making like a, a squirmy wormy or something of the sort, making a fly with some soft plastic appendages, or maybe even the main part of the body on the shank of the hook being from soft plastic, but it ends up being like a hybrid style fly. I don't think many people are actually just throwing a straight up, baby lightweight jig head and soft plastic as a fly, and having this be your bottom fly that's dragging on bottom. I don't think so, but I could be wrong about that. Still seems a little bit heavy. Adam says a guy in my club now has live scope. He's catching way more fish than in the past. He's seeing the fish he didn't know were there, and took me 20 years to find. Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying, is that the learning curve of finding fish and figuring out how to catch fish when you know that they're there, uh, dramatically increase. I mean, it's crazy. You'll figure things out a lot quicker, and you might not necessarily be as in tune with why, other than first I need to go find the fish with my electronics, then I need to try and piece together what they're relating to and why, and then I can present what I think is the best option and watch how they react. Uh, there's two things in there that are just totally different. The first is finding the fish and being able to see the fish in a different way. Two is being able to watch the bait and watch the fish react to the bait. Um, that I don't know. I'm sure it's fascinating and it's fun in the moment. Uh, but in terms of a knowledge and a skill, uh, in being able to catch more fish, that that's up for debate, right? I mean, I'm sure that the people who use live scope a lot would say that it requires a lot of skill. Uh, Not everyone who gets it and learns it is going to be as good as the next guy. So just like anything else, it takes practice. It takes um, fine-tuned details and trial and error and figuring it out. So it is what it is. Jermaine, you're funny. I'm sorry I didn't see your joke, man. That is a good one though. What about mainstream? Yeah. I'm a big fan of dad jokes. So keep them coming, dude. No worries. Colby says, I mean, people say it's too expensive, but you can literally get into it for around $1,500 now. Are you talking about live scope or what? Because I don't know that that's true, dude. I mean, doesn't everything add up? You got to get like three or four separate things. Um, anyway, I just skipped way ahead on the comments. My bad. All right. I would imagine on the replay, these last few minutes are going to be so freaking boring. Me just watching and reading the comments, saying nothing. I apologize, guys. I am literally right caught up on the comments right now. Um, Adam saying, knowing a fish is under a dock versus not knowing a fish is there changes my approach to it. Uh, well, yeah, it changes whether you fish that dock. Um, that's for certain. But the way that you fish that dock is different as well. You see, I might make way more casts slash angles slash bait types, or if a fish is following my jerk bait and I need to pause longer. All true, man. All true. Matt says, but you're still learning the behavior of the fish um, to the lure that you're using, and then it'll let you know to do something to make them bite or change your bait, make them see fish start react. I didn't see the beginning of your comment there, but you're right. You can still get all of that feedback without having live scope. It's just a different experience, like I was saying. How you experience um, what's happening in the water, when and why you get bit, um, is just all so different. Geez, Brendan, what is that? Brendan says you get 8 lures you get to use for the rest of your life. What are you using? What? Um, dude, eight baits for the rest of my life? Uh, that's a tough question, my man, because I would probably whittle things down very slowly from what is now hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of baits down to 8. But I would probably narrow it down by categories first and then try and choose essentially one bait per category in roughly 8 different categories. So, one or two of those might be jigs. Um, one or two of those might be plastics. Other than that, I would say at least half or more are going to be hard baits. Um, yeah, but dude, that's a tough question. I can't help but get more broad. I'm not just going to start, rattling off a jackhammer chatterbait, a whopper plopper. I don't know, dude. But that's a great question. Thank you. Nathan says number one, Jackal Argon. Aragon. Is that really one that would be in your top 8? John says one of the 8 should be the Batra X. You guys are nuts. Absolutely not. Adam says my club member also told me the fish react different to his boat slash trolling motor. They disappear and they scatter when he hits the pedal. Hmm. Yeah. So I would imagine that all of that makes a lot of noise and that stealth plays a big role for sure. I mean, I've heard it a million times, but not surprised to hear that now that you can't just be on the trolling motor the entire time if you're coming up on a relatively quiet spot in relatively quiet conditions or calm conditions. But yeah, that's insane. Tennessee Bassmaster says half ounce, 3/8, 3/4 ounce jigs, sleeper gill, half ounce dune spinnerbait, lipless, spicy beaver. Yeah, see, it's wild how so quickly we can just start jumping all across the board, right? Um, I feel the need to be a little bit more logical and go down the list, right? Like I'm probably going to have a handful of top water baits. And so for me, one would probably be a popper. Uh, and one might be like a whopper plopper, um, as opposed to maybe a walking bait or a wake bait, which I do still throw a lot of. Um, Probably wouldn't be a frog in one of my top 8. Um, but definitely those 2 top waters, uh, a popper and a whopper plopper style bait would be in there. Right there, that's already a quarter of all of my baits, and you already know that the jackhammer is getting one, so there's 3 of my 8. I'm probably throwing a jerk bait in as one of the 8 for sure. A lipless, a square bill. That only leaves me with like 2 more. I already said like a standard jig. Um, for me, probably a 3/8 ounce jig. Um, and then, golly, can I only throw one type of soft plastic straight up? Um, it would probably have to be like a paddle tail swim bait of some kind so that I could rig it any one of 12 different ways because my mind was just like, but wait, what about a drop shot? Um, crazy, dude. Adam says Rapala minnow floating in the size 9. That's a good one. Good all-time classic right there. Chicken fried steak, howdy, howdy. I think we're doing pretty good tonight, dude. How are you doing? Good to see you in here. All right, Brendan. No problem. Thanks for stopping by, dude. Have a great rest of your night. Adam says number 2 would be a super fluke. That's a good one, dude. For me, in that category, it would be the Strike King Z2 or the Baby Z2 rather. But yeah, great option. Tennessee Bassmaster frog can't leave a frog out. That is tough. Black and blue jig, a Meps inline spinner, says Adam. Dang, dude, in a size number 2, and a Kitech. Yep. So Nathan says Jackal Aragon or the Bling 55. Nice. Jackal Archelon. Nice. Jackal Re-Range. Jackal Kara. Jackal Crosstail. Jackal Nico Flick. Jackal TN. Jackal Rhythm Wave. Dude, Nathan, I'm sensing a little bit of a Jackal trend, dude. What's the deal, brother? Um, do you fish anything other than Jackal? I mean, I'm not mad about Jackal, but they're also not like my favorite brand. That said, I think I maybe have all those baits that you mentioned. I don't have the Nico Flick because I don't like those. Um, I mean, the Nico Flick's better than the original, like Nico Worm and the Nico Fat that they made. I don't like those though. But other than that, dude, yeah, Aragon, Bling, Free Range, all awesome hard baits. The TN, yeah, I've got them all. Rhythm Wave, Crosstail Shad, and the Archelon are sweet soft plastics. Um, and honestly, I probably don't fish any of them as frequently as I should. The Archelon is newer to me, so I don't know if I even got out and used it this year. I've got them sitting right here. It's a big creature bait, right? Super bulky, really good flipping bait. It's thick. And I thought that this bait has a hollow chamber in it. It does. So just up in the nose section up here, it's hollow. So it's got a built-in chamber for a rattle, which is pretty sweet. But the Jackal Archelon is a good one and one that I had put off getting for a long time. But that crosstail shad has been a sleeper drop shot bait for a long time, even though I would say that it's not a sleeper inside the community of people who throw the drop shot a lot. But at this point in time, there's a lot of baits like it that they you know they start to blend together a little bit. Yeah, and John, I agree with you that Adam is more on the right track that if you're gonna only pick 8 baits for the rest of ever, you probably got to go with some multi-species baits for sure. But Adam says number 6, the Black Dog G2. Just jumping straight to a shellcracker, huh? Chicken fried steaks is drop shot with a robo worm. Yep, it's tough to beat, man. Nathan, you don't like Jackal, you like Berkeley. KBD 1.5 and a Senko. All right, Adam just went with just classics, and I like that answer for sure. Dave, I'm sorry to hear it. Never caught a fish on a frog. That's sad, dude. But not sad in that like you suck at fishing. Just sad that it hasn't happened for you yet because eventually it will, and you will love it. It's just a matter of committing, putting in the time, having the confidence, and then having the um, persistence of putting the time in and having some bad experiences. Such is the case with swim bait fishing and a lot of other new techniques where maybe you don't already have a lot of confidence. You go out there and you don't have success right away. And then eventually you do have success, but with it comes a lot of issues, right? Um, Adversity. You've got low hookup ratio, and you're losing fish for a bunch of different reasons. It's a problem, and it can mess with your confidence for sure. Adam says the G2 might be the most versatile swim bait. Wake, walk, crank down, catches big and average size fish equally well. Um, well, that is a pretty sweet review right there for the G2. So I'm not going to disagree. I have no experience with it. So what can I say? Dave says, I love to throw top water, but usually just throw poppers or walking baits. Okay. Here's Matt's answer. Number 1 is the DRT Tiny Clash. Number 2, the Depths Evoke 1.2. Number 3, the Elude Zombie 3-piece wrap. Number 4, Berkeley Power Wriggler, that paddle tail swim bait. Number 5, Nori's Escape Twin. Interesting. You don't talk about that a lot. Number 6, Vibration X Battalion from Megabass. Number 7, Depths Sweet Killer. Interesting. And number 8, Bug Rock Crankdown. Now, is now the time and or place to talk about that, or should we avoid it? Because Brendan freaked out when somebody mentioned that the other night. Um, and I'll admit, I did a little digging on the side. There weren't a lot of people in that stream, nor are there a lot of people in this stream. But Matt, can you elaborate on number 8 on your list and why that bait jumps up as number 8 on your list when it's a relatively newer bait here to the US? Um, how much experience do you have using it, or are you just already in love with the bait because of what you know about it? Uh, Tell me more, dude. Mm, whoops, that sip was a little too big. I can't keep up on the comments, but I appreciate you guys. Um, yeah, Adam says frogs are very situational bait for me. Chances of me getting a limit on a frog are way lower than on any on another type of bait. That's the same for me. If if I'm throwing a frog, it's for fun fishing. I'm not even necessarily just trying to catch a hog. I'm just trying to catch fish on a frog. Um, it's when the place warrants it I don't go way out of my way to go frog fishing all that often. I probably throw a frog 20 days out of the year. Not a lot. I still love it though. Maybe it's more than 20. I don't know. Chicken fried steak. Have you ever just stayed on a bed for an hour just to catch nothing? Who hasn't, dude? Um, yeah. I've spent an hour on a bedfish. I don't know if I've spent that long or longer and not caught the fish though. That's the thing. I've probably walked away from a fish after 30 or 45 minutes, but for the longest ones, I knew I was going to catch that fish eventually, so I never left. Ooh, 3/8 ounce brownie color mag draft. That's a nice one, dude. John says if you can find it, the kicker frog from Evergreen is one that I prefer over the Jackal Cara. Okay, so also a small bodied frog, but with that single hook, not the double hook. That's interesting. I hear that it does have a great hookup ratio, but that's one that I haven't gone out of my way to try yet. So good to know that that's another recommendation for that kicker frog. Yeah, and Matt, I'm not surprised that Matt is mentioning the Nori's NF60 frog, but I have no experience with that. Adam says Matt is hyped on the bug rock right now. What? Nathan's gonna get one. Love that perch color. Oh, so Matt has one. Okay. Matt says the bug rock is the crank down that I got that I showed that's in the perch pattern. It's a great bait, just deflects extremely well. It's like an evoke, but in a swim bait. And just super stable for a wood swim bait, runs like an ABS crankbait, uses a circuit board lip in a thumbnail build style, but the position is what makes it so weedless. And the size, interesting. Okay, well, I did check it out and it does look super nice. It's also not super easy to justify, but I think the pricing is somewhat reasonable considering what it is and where it's coming from. I'd pay the whatever it is, 180 bucks all in for the bait, couple tails, and the shipping, right? Um, yeah, I looked into it. All right. Ooh, Dave picked up a couple Buster Case. Yeah, I haven't tried those. Heard good things. Also heard some bad things about durability on that bait, but definitely looks pretty sweet. Dave says, "Does it count if your PB was a bedfish?" Asking for a friend. That's a great question that could be up for debate, right? Um, I would make the argument that yes, it does count. Um, because just like any other fish catch, it's right time, right place. Um, was that fish easier to catch in that situation than she would have been not on a bed?Perhaps. And I might argue yes, but does that alone make it worthy of discrediting a personal best because you caught that fish off a bed? I don't think so. Um, I would be proud to say that my PB was a bedfish that was a 10 pounder. I don't care. you'd get the same giddy feeling. It would just happen a little bit differently, right? You would see that fish on a bed and freak out. You would know right then that you're not doing anything else. You're not leaving. You're not telling anybody. All you're doing is trying to catch this fish. Um, it's just one of those things where like while you're fishing and you hook into your PB, you maybe you know it's a good fish. You're fighting it, you know it's a good fish. You see it, you freak out, and then you land the fish and you know it then. But if you're bed fishing for your PB, you might already know ahead of time. There's that anticipation before you catch the fish. Um, Yet you also know it's not like you can just go walk in there and grab her. Um, it's not that easy to catch a bedding fish. I think a lot of people assume that it is. Uh, so, for what it's worth, Dave, I think it counts. All right. Tennessee Bassmaster says, okay, on the frogfish, look up people's PB and ask them their PB down in the South. And chances are a frog will come up in that conversation. Interesting. Hmm. So you think fish that eat a frog tend to be bigger? Or do you think that at any given time, a potential PB can be found and caught on a frog based on where they're living? Um, because that's an interesting point, man. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Um, Tennessee Bassmaster says, mine was, and I'm sure that your friend Dave would spend all day on a bed if it was a PB for sure. Bug Rock Bully. Matt, you're all about that Bug Rock lifestyle, huh? Not a big bait at all, Tyler. It's like 2.8 ounces. Not bad at all. Used to have them at like 130 bucks, but shipping got a little more. You had to raise it by 20 bucks. Yeah, I know. It seems like a reasonable price, right? That's the thing. You say guys over here would charge 200 bucks or more for that bait. I would agree with you. But that alone doesn't necessarily justify me spending that kind of money on a single bait. But if I've got a lot of people around me um, giving me good information about a bait, I might be willing to spend that kind of dough on a bait or on a few baits over time, right? So maybe tomorrow night is the time to pull the trigger on one of those baits. I mean, sheesh, bro. What are you getting another one tomorrow, Matt? Nathan, thank you for stopping by, man. No worries. I probably won't be on a whole lot longer anyway. Uh, we're just chilling. I wanted to show my face more than anything because it's been a couple weeks since I've been on, and quite frankly, nothing's wrong. I just I've been busy since I got back from Hawaii 3 weeks ago. Um, my wife and I have been working nonstop, and we've had people visiting from out of town. We've been busy hanging out with friends and family, and it every single day we've had stuff going on, and I've had very minimal opportunity uh, to hop on and do a live stream. So I do apologize for me not being as present as I ordinarily am or would be, but there's a reason for it. And my kids are a little bit sick right now at the moment too. So I've got my 4-year old sleeping up in my room right now. My 7-year old is in her room, but I had to put her back to bed a couple times before coming down here to stream because she's feeling a little sick at the moment. So it is what it is. But I'm here when I can be, and I appreciate you guys being here as well. Tom, I'm with you. It doesn't matter. A PB is a PB regardless of how it was caught. I mostly agree with that, unless you're snagging fish, right? But bedfish versus, you know, targeting a fish with whatever type of lure that's not cheating, um, actually snagging fish, then I agree. I think it counts. I'm with you. John Smith, getting out of here. Okay, John. No worries. Have a great rest of your night. Thank you for hanging out. Appreciate you. Dave- Dave's gonna let his friend know that his PB is in fact legit. So sweet. Dave, congrats to your friend, man. Must have been a hell of a fight, or at least an experience, chasing down that bedfish. But congrats to your friend for sure. So Matt says, I wish, man, but his baits are catching on a lot. A lot of guys on Universe keep talking about him. Sooner or later, his drops will become really hard to get. Uh, yeah, I kind of got that vibe the other day, and then after I looked into it, so that's why I asked you. Are you trying to buy a couple more of them, or no? Not really. You say it's all up to you, bro. If it doesn't feel worth it, it's on you. Like Tom says, it doesn't matter what you catch it on. Yep, yep, yep. Dave, what's your friend's secret bed bait? What did your friend maybe allegedly catch that PB on while bed fishing? Because bed fishing is an interesting conversation we could talk about for a while. Um, God, bed fishing is fun. It's different. Do you guys have kind of a go-to presentation for bed fishing? I've found over the last 2 years or so that the drop shot is just so deadly, especially if you set it up so that you can adjust your leader length. Uh, then all of a sudden, you're playing around with a bait that's not suspended on the bottom because you think about a bedfish, right? They are protective of their area. They're doing a couple things. One, they're keeping their area tidy, and two, they're protecting their area from other things, other fish. And so uh, there's a cleaning up situation that goes on, and there's a protecting situation that goes on. And I will say they're a little bit different. And when you're presenting something like a jig or a creature or something else, sometimes even a swim bait that is down in the bed and rooting around, uh, yeah, it will create a reaction and piss off the fish, get them more angry, but they will almost never eat that bait. You'll see them frequently pick it up, swim away with it, drop it off, circle back around, and come park it again. Um, there's something about a drop shot in the way that it sits up off the bottom in their area. The bed is not just on the ground. It's like this bubble area that when something comes into this bubble, it's game on. And the fish that's protecting the bed gets protective. Um, and so the aggression is different in what you get out of a bait that's presented in the middle of the column, that might be more of a threat to that fish and to what's in the bed than something that gets kind of brushed in, or maybe by the current or the wind or whatever. Something that's just sitting in there isn't going to irritate a fish as much as something that's in there rooting around, looking, maybe trying to feed. So just an idea or an opinion, if you will. Dave Jolly says, I hear he was throwing a Reaction Innovations 4.2-inch Sweet Beaver in the black light color. Love that. Love that, dude. That black light. Oh, I've got the blank check color. Both are sweet. And mine's the spicy beaver, not the sweet. But anyway, Adam says I drop shot bedfish more than anything. Me too, dude. Jigs and chatterbaits. Chicken fried steak says, and a wacky senko if I can't see, says Adam. That's fair. Yeah, if you can't see very clearly, but you know there's a bed there, and you know there's a bed fish there, yeah, senko's a good option. Good lord. Tennessee Bassmaster says, yes, I don't catch many dinks on the frog, and I know someone who caught a 14 on a frog. That is ridiculous, dude. A 14 pounder, let alone on a frog. Oh, golly. Matt says, Tyler, I was thinking of rigging one of my big floating cranking. What? Thinking of rigging one of my big floating cranking on a deep tracer and let it go to bottom, and the bait will float up. Can fish super slow. Wonder if that will work for bed fishing. Um, so let me try and understand this. The deep tracer is going to allow the bait to go down to whatever depth you want to fish it at, right? But you're wondering if you actually let it go all the way to the bottom, are you then able to essentially fish it like a drop shot, right? And my question for you is why use a deep tracer instead of, say, something like a drop shot where you're just adding weight and creating a drop shot Jika rig, Tokyo rig situation where your bait can trail behind, yeah, maybe a Carolina rig, right? You've got a weight here, and your bait, your crankbait, is behind, down at depth. But with that separation, then you can pause the bait, and while the weight's down on bottom, the bait will float up as much as it can, uh, given the leader that you've got. So, I mean, that could work potentially. I've never really thought about doing something like that, Matt, but um, yeah, I don't know. I would try it with a cheaper bait first. um, Unless you know that where you're fishing has, clearer bottoms and that you're not going to get hung up on one of your first casts. But it's definitely an interesting concept, and maybe it's worth a go. Chris says PBs are not allowed to come from private ponds less than 5 acres. All right, Chris, why are you setting PB rules now, dude? I thought we were just, sending out the good vibes about PBs. However you catch that fish, wherever you catch that fish, congratulations, man. If you happen to have the connections, if you happen to have the resources where you've got a property with your own private pond, or somebody who does, I mean, whose fault is that, dude? I don't know. A PB is a PB. So Dave says that he agrees. It's got to be public water. I mean, sure. And who knows? Maybe if I was 30 years into bass fishing and I had caught, dozens of 10 pounders, and I knew that I could go catch a 10 pounder on private water any given day of the week, but that it would take a serious amount of hard work and skill on public waters to catch the same caliber fish. Uh, so be it. Yeah, maybe. Okay. But now, Bruce, right there, catching a PB on live bait doesn't count. There you go. I agree with that. Okay. Um, I am just of the school of thought that live bait fishing is a different sport. Um, I generally see it as a technique, something that you're going to do to pursue fish that you will catch and keep, not catch and release. So, live bait fishing is it's fine if you're a commercial fisherman, if you're trying to catch and keep fish or harvest fish for one reason or another. But if that's just how you go out and catch fish and you practice catch and release, yeah, not about that. Yeah, Matt. I mean, that's an interesting idea, dude. Give it a whirl, and keep me posted because I do want to know. That might be an interesting way to fish a floating crankbait down deep, um, and get bit. I'm sure it's been done. Tom says most bedfish are caught on baits 6 inches or smaller and slow presentations. Yeah, um, I don't think anyone would be surprised to hear that. I think most fish caught off of a bed are caught because that fish was not trying to eat the bait, but rather bit it out of aggression or just because they were being territorial or attempting to move the bait off of the bed, but not eat. Adam says, my PB came from a retention pond outside a TJ Maxx. Does it count? Yup. Counts, dude. It counts. Flashback PB. We were sending out a good PB vibes. Wrong. Crush my friend's Florida guide trip. Okay. He caught it on minnows. Oh, well, it's tough, right? That's the thing is if you're going saltwater fishing, if you're going fishing with a guide, you're going to be fishing live bait most of the time, right? I mean, it's a guide's job to put you on fish, to have you catch fish, to not go fishing, but to go catching. And so it would require a rare situation where you are an avid fisherman and you pursue a guide and then say to the guide, I'm here because I need your access to big fish, but I want to use artificial lures to catch those fish. Uh, at that point, it's more about the guide helping put the angler in the right place than to actually help them hook up with the fish. So yeah, sorry to go down a rabbit hole, but I've got mixed vibes about that. I've done some chartered fishing myself, guided fly fishing as well, and I still have kind of mixed feelings about guided fishing, um, and just how proud I am of the bigger fish that I've caught on guided trips versus not. Adam says results have not been great when trying to Carolina rig Rapala minnows and shad wraps. Okay. Dave says, yeah, guided trips don't count. Got it. All right, guys. It is 10 till 11 my time. I'm thirsty more than anything. I have looked at this bait fuel now like 3 times in the last 30 minutes and thought about drinking it. That just goes to show that I'm thirsty. I need to get a drink. Uh, and instead of going upstairs, getting a drink, and then hanging out for another however long, I'm just gonna get out of here and have myself a great rest of my night. Hope you guys have a great rest of your night as well and enjoy your weekend. Um, I would say there's a 10%, 20% chance that I might be on tomorrow night. If it just so happens that my daughter gets more sick tonight and we have to cancel our family plans for tomorrow night, I might be back on. But otherwise, uh, I probably won't see you till midweek next week. Uh, but I will be back on, and you can expect to see me um, on a more regular basis. So thank you guys for hanging out tonight. I appreciate you guys, and hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy your night. Thank you for your support. If you haven't already, hit that thumbs up button. Leave a comment after this video posts, and I'll see you soon. Peace.